easy understanding this. So when I say electrodes, so electrodes, these are what we are talking about, the anode. So anode and what? And the cathode. So when we say that these are electrodes, it means that I'm talking about the anode or the cathodes. This is what I mean. Because this word here, when I say that the electrodes, you now need to understand that the electrodes, these are conductive materials that facilitate the flow of electric current into and out of a medium. So when we are talking about those materials that get to facilitate the flow of electric current in and out of a medium, such as a vacuum or a gas, those things that get to facilitate the movement of the flow of electric current, those are what we get to call the what? The electrodes. And the electrodes, we are talking about the anodes and the cathodes. This is what you need to get. So when I say that, if the electrodes, in mind, you know that we are talking about the cathode and the anode. So if they are set, so I will say that if they are set, if the electrodes are what? Are set. So if they are set in a what? In a vacuum. When they are put in a what? When they are put in a vacuum, and we get to connect them and connect what? And connect to high voltage. When they are connected to high voltage, there are certain things you are going to understand. And connected to what? And connected to high voltage. So when we connect them to high voltage of power supply, high voltage of what? High voltage of power supply, there are certain things that you are now going to note. You are going to discover that electrons now are going to be emitted. So I will say electrons now will emit. So electrons emit from the what? Emits, I will say electrons emit from the what? Emit from the cathode. So electrons emit from the what? Emit from the cathode. They are going to be emitted from the what? From the cathode. This cathode that we are talking about, this is the negative side of a circuit. This is a negative what? Negative side of a what? Of a circuit. So when I say that this is the cathode, you need to know that, okay, a cathode is a negative side of a circuit. So, and they get to flow, and flow to where? And get to flow to the anode. And they flow to the what? They get to flow to the anode. To the what? To the anode. This, what is an anode? This anode that we get to talk about, you need to discuss, you need to understand that the anode, since this is a negative, this one is a positive side. So you need to understand that this is the positive side of a what? Of a circuit. Positive side of a circuit. These are two important things that you need to know. So electrons will move from the cathode to the anode. These are points that you need to get. These are points that you need to understand. So I want you to understand this clearly and attentively. I want you to know everything that I'm talking about. So one of the types of electrodes, we've got the anode. You discover that when we go very deep and when we go in chemistry, you now understand that this is science, isn't it? We call it science. So when we say this is the cathode in chemistry, at the cathode, you discover that we get to have the electrodes. When we say this is the cathode, we discover that the electrode where this is the type of an electrode where reduction occurs. Here, this is where reduction does what? Reduction occurs. That's where reduction occurs. But when we talk about the anode, when we go to the anode, that is where what? That is where oxidation occurs. That is where what? Oxidation occurs. This is just part of what? A part of chemistry, of which I know that we know that it is at the anode where oxidation occurs, and it is at the cathode where a reduction gets to occur. The anode, that is the positive side of the battery of a circuit, and the cathode, that is a negative side of a circuit. That is a point that you need to understand. And you discover that hot surfaces are easy to emit what? Electrons. So hot surfaces do what? Emit electrons. So the emission of electrons from hot surfaces is what we get to call as thermionic emission. So you need to understand, when I tell you to say what is the thermionic emission? Thermionic emission is a process by which electrons are emitted from hot surfaces. What I'm telling you to say is this.